Hey everyone, welcome to Learning Sharp. Tonight we're going to sharpen the Spyderco Manix 2 in M390. I use this one a good bit at work. It's one of my favorite models that Spyderco makes. This one's pretty dulled up. It had a polished edge on it. It doesn't have much going on for an edge. M390s are really well-rounded, excellent user steel. We're going to sharpen tonight on Gridomatics 8x3 silicon carbide stones. We'll start with a 240. Let these soak for about 5 or 10 minutes or so. And then just keep them wet. I really like the silicon carbide stones by Gridomatic. They come lapped well. Being silicon carbide, they abrade just about any steel well. They do a good job. They're a little more forgiving than diamonds, but still cut deep and leave a nice toothy edge. All right, so we'll go ahead and cut off our existing edge, even though there's not much left. Because this bevel was polished originally, I'm not gonna Sharpie it. I'm just gonna kind of see where we end up. Where we're coming off a polished bevel, I can see real good where we're at and where I need to be. I just got this 240 as a different option to my Norton Crystalline Fine, which is a 320. We're already raising a nice burr. Need a little bit more at the heel. Might have been able to let these soak a little bit longer. This 240 seems to really be porous. There we go. Got her now. So I like to rotate the stones to try and keep the wear even in between lappings. Again, we're just using water, a little bit of dish soap in it, a little water bottle, a little hole drilled on top. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. I try to save the money for the abrasives and emulsions, compounds, and knives, you know. Try not to waste money on the little things. We should be able to find our burr a lot quicker on this side, since we've already established it on the opposite bevel. There we go. Now we're hitting the whole bevel real good. And I'm only using enough pressure. Well, I should say I'm using about as much pressure as the weight of my hands. I'm not hogging on the stone. I'm not getting crazy with it. This is a pretty coarse stone. It can do the work for you. All right. We'll go ahead and let her back down. Now we're going to do some into the edge strokes to deburr. Very light pressure. I'm not so much worried about getting the entire burr removed on this 240, but I want to weaken it and minimize it. Another thing we can do, go ahead and hit it on our deburring strop here. I like to do this in between stones. Sometimes it just ensures that we're breaking that burr down. I think we'll go ahead and move on. So we'll pop the 240 out of here. We're going to go ahead and make the jump to a 1200 silicon carbide from Gritomatic. We can make pretty large jumps here whenever we're freehand sharpening. If we're not going for a mirror, we don't need a super tight progression. One thing a lot of folks forget is to wipe the blade between not only emulsions and diamond sprays and such, or compounds, but also between stones. We want to get any of that grit, anything that abrasive that it shed off of our bevel before we move on. All right, same thing. At this stage, we're refining. We're only going to do 2 stones. Sometimes I'll go to 2500 silicon carbide. I think on this one, I use this one at work quite a bit. Just going to go to 1200, call it good. keeping our wrists locked, using our fingers to control the contact of the bevel to the stone, and only the weight of our hands. We'll rotate the stone. It's still pretty wet, but we'll add just a little bit there. Just don't want to let them run dry. Yeah, we're coming up on sharpness now. I'm real bad at the photography and videography here, guys. I'm not sure about focus and such, but trying to get it to where y'all can see. You know, you don't have to make these back and forth motions and such. Definitely goes along the lines of traditional Japanese style knife sharpening. Some guys like to do just a stropping motion. You know, some guys will do edge leading strokes. Some guys won't sharpen for a burr. They'll just work the edge leading strokes until they've apexed. I prefer to just sharpen for a burr. I think it gets us the same place, just a little bit faster. The trick is, and I still have problems with this sometimes, you don't need a huge burr. You just want a perceivable burr that you can feel. You don't need to have a huge rolled over burr. We'll go ahead and flip it back around. Now we'll finish with our into the edge strokes. Very light pressure. I'm trying to weaken and minimize that burr. So this is our final stone. We want to get rid of that burr all together. You know, I just want to come out and say this, that you're gonna try progressions, you're gonna try stones. Sometimes you're just gonna have a bad day sharpening. You're gonna have flops. You're gonna have edges that just do not turn out how you want. Sometimes you have to run through a progression all over again. Sometimes it's just, you know, sometimes it's just not your day. I'll run into that with guided systems or freehand. It really doesn't matter. But as long as you're getting the edge that works for you and what you need, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter that other folks want a mirror, other folks want diamond. As long as we're properly sharpening and getting the edge that you desire, that's what matters. That's the right edge for you then. Make just a couple more deburr passes here into the edge. ahead and strop. You know, and on some of these knives that I use at work, they get chipped, they get rolled edges. I may not sharpen a chip out every single time all the way. You know, I'm cutting wood, plastic banding, rope, zip ties, copper wire. I don't necessarily always have to have a perfect clean slice for what I'm doing. Plastic airline, silicone hose. Cut serpentine belts off sometimes if I have to out on the road. You know, there's a time and a place for all different types of edges. One of my big pet peeves is I just try not to waste the steel. We pay a lot of money for these premium steels, premium carbides. I just don't see the sense in hogging them out just to get always a perfectly even bevel, especially on these Spydercos where they're plunge grinded, the Ricassos. It can be difficult to even it out. I might take a few sharpenings to do that. I may not work a chip out every single sharpening. Just depends. All right. Go ahead and move this guy. Get to where we can get in the frame here. So this is, I use this strop as a deburring strop. Veg tan cowhide and some suede leather. No emulsion, no nothing. It's sanded to 120 grit just to keep it roughed and fluffed up. But I've found on some of my coarser tooth edges, either silicon carbide or diamond, I really like how this burnishes the edge, which is basically what stropping is doing. I like how it burnishes the edge but doesn't over refine the teeth. It's easy to over refine an edge. Make sure you guys can see what I'm doing here. All right, good. No insane amount of pressure here. Same bevel contact angle that we were using on the stones. Just want to remove that burr. Leather does have some abrasive quality to it, but with no emulsion or compound on here, we really don't have to worry about over refining and removing any teeth. We just want to make sure that we remove that burr. We'll hit the suede leather. All right. Got some carbon copy paper here. Again, I want to make sure we're in the frame. I have a little bit of burr left there. All right. Sometimes this paper gets a little moist out here in the garage with the humidity. Got some teeth to it. Work it just a little bit more. Another thing we can do is take the end of your strop, just lightly drag it into the grain of the wood, just lightly. You can use a cork. I think I got a couple of them. You could take a cork, a dense block of foam will work. There's several medias you can use, but that generally will do it. I think Chef Knives To Go has a felt block that some guys like. Let's see what that does. All right. Get these out of here. Much better. Got that last little bit of burr off, and that's all teeth. That's all 1200 grit silicon carbide edge. Not really concerned about the push cut ability for what I'll be using this knife for at work. Grab a piece of our leather belt here. I think that one will do just fine for at work. Hit the apex well. I always try and cut a piece of foam book paper here just because. And it's no mirror edge, no crazy slicer. You can hear the teeth to it, but it'll work perfect for what I need at work. When I'm out on the road or in the shop. You know, they don't have to be pretty. We just want them refined. That's one of my favorite stone combinations right now is just silicon carbide. They abrade just about any steel. They cut well, they cut fast. They're forgiving. And they have excellent feedback. I enjoy how they feel, how they sharpen. Not sure if it'll shave hair or not. Oh yeah. That'll work. That's all we need. Thanks everyone for hanging out and watching us. Do a little bit of silicone carbide sharpening action. Catch y'all later.